Today, we're diving headfirst into a controversial yet timely topic: the decline of identity politics and the strange linguistic trends that have come with it. Specifically, how terms like Latinx and other buzzwords have fallen out of favor, even among the communities that were supposedly designed to represent. The 2024 US presidential election has made one thing abundantly clear: the dominance of identity politics as a unifying force is waning. This shift is reflected not just in political strategies, but also in the language we use. So what happened? Why are these trendy neologisms losing traction? And what does it mean for the way we talk about identity moving forward? Let's get into it. Let's start with identity politics. For the last decade, it was seen as a cornerstone of political and social discourse. Politicians, media outlets, and activists leaned heavily on the idea of building coalitions around shared identities such as race, gender, or sexual orientation. This approach wasn't without merit. For a while, it brought attention to underrepresented voices and led to meaningful discussions about inclusion. But over time, it became clear that identity politics wasn't resonating with everyone, even within minority groups. Take the 2024 US election as an example. Exit polls showed that a significant number of minority voters, whether Black or Hispanic, didn't base their decisions on identity-focused appeals. Instead, issues like the economy, healthcare, and public safety took precedence. This shift demonstrates a growing rejection of being reduced to labels. Now, let's talk about the linguistic side of this issue: neologisms. Words like Latinx emerged as a part of an effort to create more inclusive language. Latinx, for those unfamiliar, was introduced as a gender-neutral alternative to Latino or Latina. While it gained some traction in academic and activist circles, it was never widely adopted by Hispanic communities. Polls have consistently shown that less than 5% of Hispanics use or identify with the term. I, for example, never use it. Why didn't it catch on? One reason is practicality. Latinx is difficult to pronounce in Spanish, a language where words are heavily gendered by default. It felt more like a political tool and out of touch with the linguistic reality of everyday speakers. Additionally, many saw it as a term imposed by English-speaking activists, rather than something that organically evolved from within the community. This pattern isn't unique to Latinx. Other trendy terms, often tied to the LGBTQ+ movement, have similarly struggled to gain widespread acceptance. Words like they and zir, as gender-neutral pronouns, have remained niche, partly because they clash with the linguistic habits of most English speakers. The rapid proliferation of new terms, many of which are perceived as elitist or overly academic, has created confusion rather than clarity. At its core, language is a tool for communication. When new terms become barriers to understanding, they lose their effectiveness. This is why many of these neologisms fail to take root. They might sound progressive on paper, but if they don't resonate with the people they're meant to represent, they become irrelevant. So what does this mean for the future of language and identity? First, it's a reminder that language change cannot be forced. Successful linguistic shifts happen organically, not through top-down imposition. Think of terms like woke or cancel. They didn't originate in a boardroom or academic paper. They emerged from grassroots movements and quickly entered mainstream usage. Second, it highlights the importance of listening to the communities we aim to represent. Inclusivity is about more than inventing new words. It's about creating spaces where people feel heard and valued. This means understanding that identity is multifaceted and cannot always neatly be categorized. Finally, the decline of identity politics and trendy neologisms signals a broader cultural shift. People are moving away from divisive labels and toward more universal conversations about shared goals and values. This doesn't mean abandoning discussions about identity altogether, but it does mean approaching them in a way that feels authentic and inclusive. As an example, I came up with 3 hypothetical LGBTQ+ neologisms from a far-off dystopia. And I also included the reason why they would censor critical thinking by showing how language can morph from a vehicle for expression into a tool for thought control under the guise of inclusivity. Okay, here's number one, gender veiled. It refers to a person who obscures their gender identity as a form of empowerment. So why would it censor thinking? Well, it implies that not openly disclosing one's gender is an act of rebellion, turning ambiguity into a politically loaded choice rather than a personal one. Number two, binary void. It's a label for individuals who actively reject binary and non-binary identity structures altogether. Why does it censor thinking? It marginalizes those critical of the broader identity politics framework, equating dissent with harm. Number three, cisgressor. A definition would be a cisgressor is a person who unintentionally upholds systematic biases against non-binary or trans individuals. And why does it censor thinking? Well, it labels well-meaning individuals as oppressors, discouraging discussion by preemptively assigning blame. Anyway, to wrap things up, the fall of identity politics and the decline of terms like Latinx reflect a deeper cultural and linguistic evolution. They remind us that language is a living, breathing entity shaped by the people who use it. When words fail to connect with the communities they're meant to serve, they lose their power. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Hacking the Language Matrix for more deep dives into how language and culture intersect. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think identity politics and trendy neologisms are on their way out, or are they just evolving into something new? Let's discuss. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.